Vocês viram um vídeo do test ride, um pouquinho mais falando sobre a moto. Agora, nessa vista aqui paradisíaca, que eu vou deixar como que ela realmente é aqui em cima, vamos trocar aquela ideia com os executivos da marca, falar o que eles sentiram, até algumas coisas um pouquinho mais burocráticas e tudo mais. Então, bora lá trocar essa ideia. Bom, Gabriel, primeiramente, muito obrigado aí por trocar essa ideia aqui rapidinho com o pessoal, passar um pouco da experiência também e também algumas coisas um pouco mais burocráticas, assim, digamos, sobre o lançamento, né? Primeira coisa, o que você mais gostou de pilotar essa moto? Você que veio no ride aqui com a gente, tá fazendo tudo que a gente tá fazendo aqui, o que você mais gostou dessa moto aqui?
O que eu acho, assim, o que me agrada muito nela? Eu não sou um piloto super experiente, super técnico. E assim, ela me possibilitou fazer tudo que vocês fizeram, né? A gente teve um dia intenso aí, 300 km de ride, mais de 200 de terra, pedra, rio, né? Tudo, e assim, eu me senti super confortável, uma moto com muito boa performance. Eu acho que uma coisa interessante, assim, o torque em baixa rotação é muito importante, né? Sim. Então você vem numa terceira, numa quarta, tem uma subida, você dá motor, a moto vem, você não precisa ficar cambiando. Então assim, é uma moto muito fácil, né, de você se divertir com ela e ter uma experiência. Então, esse é o que eu levo para mim do ride com a Himalayan.
Sim. E já que você me contou que você tinha uma Scrum que você usava mais no dia a dia, essas coisas, para quem nunca andou nessa nova Himalayan, como é que você pode fazer uma breve comparação aí entre as duas? Se é que até cabe, porque é muito diferente, né? Mas o nome em si já cabe, né? Então...
Eu acho assim, é uma grande revolução. Eu acho que não daria nem para dizer que é uma evolução, porque da plataforma antiga, né, da plataforma D, né, que eram as motos 411, não ficou nada, essa plataforma K, né, 450, então assim, é uma evolução muito grande, né? Performance on-road, off-road, robustez, então assim, é realmente um salto muito grande, né? Então assim, a gente fica muito contente de poder trazer para o Brasil um produto com uma evolução tão grande e ainda dentro de uma proposta de valor que é fiel à marca Royal Enfield, né? Então a gente está super contente de trazer esse produto para o Brasil.
Sim. No ride que a gente vem, porque eu vou filmando muito do ride, conversando, teve alguma parte favorita assim sua que dá um destaque assim ou não?
Olha, eu gosto quando a gente embala um pouco, né? Quando a gente está na estrada de terra, em pé, quarta, quinta marcha, 50, 60, quase 70 por hora, né? Você vai fazendo as curvas, contornando, né? O teu joelho encaixa muito bem no tanque. Eu me senti muito confortável, muito confiante, né? De fazer essa parte do trecho. Então foi a parte que eu mais me diverti no passeio até agora.
Legal. Agora uma coisa um pouco mais burocrática, que infelizmente não estava aqui no lançamento da Shotgun, estava fora do país. Como vai funcionar a reserva dessa daqui? Porque eu lembro que vocês falaram bastante, tipo, para evitar, por exemplo, alguma coisa que nem aconteceu na Super Meteor, que a demanda, aqui também a demanda foi muito acima do esperado.
Sim.
E essa daqui também é uma moto que tem tudo para ser uma demanda gigantesca, né?
Sim, sim. Então assim, Gui, alguns aprendizados que nós tivemos com o lançamento da Super Meteor. O primeiro aprendizado é a quantidade de motos, né? Nós já temos esses kits no Brasil desde o final do ano passado. Nós até poderíamos ter acelerado o lançamento, lançado ela final de novembro e dezembro, mas a gente falou, não, vamos agrupar o maior número possível de motocicletas, né? Então a gente começou a produção dessas motos em janeiro de 2025. Ponto interessante, todas elas já chegam ao modelo 26, então essas motos são todas 26 já. E aí a gente criou um sistema de pré-reserva, como a gente fez com a Shotgun agora, está funcionando muito bem. Então como funciona, né? Todo mês nós vamos disponibilizar para o mercado um lote de motos, né? O primeiro lote é cerca de 750 motos, né? Então a gente vai ao ar agora com esse lote dia 19 de março, às 19 horas a gente abre o site. Então o cliente entra lá, né? Ele pode escolher entre Himalayan e Shotgun, as duas motos vão estar disponíveis, vai na Himalayan, né? Que é a moto do dia aqui hoje.
Ou se quiser as duas, né? Nunca
se quiser
sabe.
as duas, né?
Uma para viajar, outra para fazer off-road.
A gente vai ficar mais feliz ainda. Mas entra lá, escolhe a moto, o próximo passo que ele vai fazer é o seguinte, ele vai fazer por geolocalização, vai te sugerir o concessionário mais próximo, tá? Você pode também mudar, né? Eu tenho um concessionário preferido que eu já vou lá, você pode mudar essa escolha. Então o próximo passo é o seguinte, quando você escolhe o concessionário, ele vai abrir a disponibilidade por cor daquele concessionário, né? Então dentro daquele lote, então ele vai ver, tem a azul, tem a preta e tal, você escolhe a moto.
Isso já é o que está na concessionária, assim, que você não precisa esperar, tipo...
Não, é o que está ou na concessionária ou com a gente em São Paulo.
Tá.
Então a gente não vai disponibilizar motos que estão a produzir na Dafra, motos que estão vindo da Índia. Então são motos efetivamente prontas e disponíveis para faturamento, tá? vai gerar, você faz um cadastro, vai gerar um QR Code, R$ 2.000 de sinal, fez R$ 2.000, confirmou, a moto é sua, está reservada para você, o concessionário vai ligar para você o mais rápido possível para fazer os trâmites da diferença, combinar uma data de entrega da moto e aí é o percurso normal de uma aquisição de qualquer motocicleta.
E isso não é só no dia 19 que funciona esse site ele continua ativo.
Continua. Então todo mês vai ter um lote. Como eu te falei, a gente vai disponibilizar 750 motos no dia 19. Não sei quão rápido elas vão acabar, a gente espera que acabe rápido. E aí em abril a gente vai ter um segundo lote, consecutivamente todo mês a gente vai abrir um lote novo.
Perfeito, eu vou deixar também o site na descrição do vídeo, então se você quiser só clica lá que daí já vai aparecer todas as informações. Beleza? Bom, muito obrigado aí por todas as informações e prazer estar rodando aí com você no Ride.
Obrigado, prazer é nosso.
Valeu. Continuando o papo com os executivos aqui, agora vamos falar com o Mark, que ele é envolvido no design, responsável pelo design, e é isso aí, bora trocar uma ideia com ele. Já aproveita aí para testar seu inglês também. Mark, first of all, thank you very much for taking your time talking to us.
My pleasure.
First of all, what's the feeling of starting with a bike? Because we know we talked about yesterday, the new Himalayan. It's not like something that you had a frame or something you try to put a motor in it. You know, you started from ground up. What's the feeling of getting a bike from ground up, being able to mold the frame, get the engine going? You know, like having the whole project from zero. You don't have to be based on anything in you know.
It's an incredible privilege to be able to work on a project like this. So, you know, for a designer to start with a clean sheet of paper and have we didn't have no preconceptions because we knew we wanted to create something that carried the DNA, the sort of the core characteristics of the original bike over. You know, so things like the riding ergonomics and the layout we wanted to carry over, but in terms of the product, this, as you say, was a completely clean sheet of paper. And so it was an opportunity to really sit down and think, you know, having talked to customers and understood, you know, what they loved about the old bike and what they thought could be better. And from riding it ourselves and using the bike ourselves a lot, you know, I mean, I've done, I don't know how many thousands of miles on the 411. We already knew what we wanted to make better. And so, yeah, it's just a fantastic thing to be part of, especially at the very beginning of the project where you've got engineers and designers and product strategy people, and you're all batting ideas off each other. You're all saying, "Oh, we could do this, or we could do that," and you know, you watch it evolve very, very rapidly.
Is that your favorite part too?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I mean, for me, my favorite part is that initial project genesis, that ideation. You know, lots of ideas, failing fast, try something different. All of that is brilliant, and it's such a wonderful thing to watch a bike come together, and then also at the other end of the process, the feeling of you know, today watching so many smiles, thinking, you know, here's something that's brought so much joy to so many people, and around the world that's going to be the case. That's again a real privilege to be able to be part of that.
You pointed out the feeling part. What's the feeling of riding a bike like this, especially like, you know, the scenery we had today and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, it's what it's all about, isn't it? It's what we do it for. It's, I mean, you know, I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing. It's so much fun. And I mean, Brazil is a beautiful country. We met some lovely people today, and you know, riding together. You know, I'm not a super confident off-road rider, and every bit I do more, I get better at it. And you know, today was great. You know, I was pushing my boundaries, and yeah, just so good, so good.
So a little bit of like, I met you on the Scram launch in Rio. If there's anything that you can draw a little comparison from the 411 to this, like it could be the Scram or the Himalayan, like, you know, like what would you compare to?
So I think that the first thing, and this is actually true for all Royal Enfield. So for me, whatever we do at Royal Enfield, there has to be firstly a story. So we should never do a Me Too product. We should never go, oh, that one's selling a lot, let's copy that.
Yes.
You know, we should always do something that comes from part of our DNA. So, you know, people have been taking our bikes up to the Himalayas for decades now. And so the idea of having a bike that you know, that was designed purposely for that, that's where the 411 came from. And the 450 is just an evolution of that. So, you know, one is that story. The second, I think, that is critical is that the bike has to look great. Like, you have to walk into a showroom and think, I really want that. That's an awesome thing. I think all of our products tick that box. Yes. And then the last thing, and the other two are achievable. You know, there's lots of brands manage the first two, but the last one is to be accessible. And by that I mean both in price point, so you can afford it, but also in terms of the riding experience. There are so many bikes, you know, big 1300cc off-roaders that are intimidating and scary. It's
not for everybody.
No, I wouldn't have been able to ride what we did today.
Yes, that's 100%.
On some of those, you know, whereas this bike and the 411 before it were both really inviting. They both said, you know, come and try me, come and have a go. Let's see where we can get to together. And I think that's a real core kind of attribute of all Royal Enfields, is that they're accessible and they say, come and try it, come and see what you can do on it. And I think, you know, that when you think of the riding ergonomics, both this bike and the 411 have a very similar, accessible, easy riding position. They both have that long stroke engine with that lovely torque curve. So that kind of ability to, you know, when you come up to like a hill and you need to get that and you need to just tractor up it, or you're doing a water crossing like we did today and you just need to keep tractoring on, you know, it's really good at that. Obviously this is like the 411 in that sense, but just doubled, you know, so it's just got, you know, you keep opening the throttle and it keeps going, you know, but that initial response is very much like the original 411 and you get that feeling of usability and tractability.
Two more questions for you. First one, if somebody's going to test ride this bike, what is something that they should be look for, you know, like compare especially to the other one, you know, to the last one? What is something that they will be like, hey, you got to pay attention to this because this is a difference maker, you know? Like,
yeah, so I mean, for me, it's the whole thing. So the engine is brand new. You know, we've gone from 24 brake horse up to 40 brake horse. We've got 40 Newton meters of torque now, so we've kind of doubled the torque curve.
And just one thing, people sometimes think that whenever you put more power and more torque, it becomes a little bit harder to ride.
Yeah, no,
but this one is totally the opposite.
Exactly,
it's actually
right.
Easier to ride it, especially when you get on the off-road.
So that's you know, a massive step up. In terms of suspension and brakes,
it's a different game.
Suspension, you know, we've now got shower suspension front and rear. The suspension works incredibly well, you know, in again, you've experienced that today, but you know, in all kind of road conditions. I think the thing that will surprise people is just how well that works on road.
Yes,
you know, because everybody looks at the bike and thinks it's a great off-road bike, which it absolutely is. But you get it on a twisty road, and this bike is a little weapon.
And that's actually why on the way back, I wanted to do the more road part to actually see how it was on the road, and I recorded, and it was just beautiful.
It's epic,
beautiful.
I mean, I've ridden this bike. I took it on a track day in Chennai.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I ground all the foot pegs back. It's so good. And then the other thing, I say the brakes, it's got Bate brakes, which are a division of Brembo. And there's so much more power and modulation to the brakes than there was in the old bikes. I think for me, they're probably the standout items.
Last question. What was your favorite part about the ride today? Did you have like a highlight that you're like, oh man, this is awesome?
So
I know there's a lot of highlights.
I was going to say, the whole day was just epic. I mean, so from today, I think, the river crossing was beautiful. The river crossing, the setting there is just stunning. As I say, I'm a better road rider, so I really enjoyed the twisty road bit. But actually, I think the best bit was straight after the river crossing. There was a sort of a fast off-road bit, and I really kind of found my legs on that. And I was chasing down a couple of the other riders, and that was great. I had a massive amount of fun doing that. I'm exhausted now, absolutely broken, but I had a whale of a time. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming along.
To us.
It's been
great. Beautiful. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
All right. E é isso aí, pessoal, continuando um pouco o papo aqui com os executivos da Royal Enfield. Bora trocar ideia aqui com o Ross. Thank you very much for taking the time talking to us here real quickly. First of all, how do you see the importance of the Brazilian market as far as Royal Enfield goes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you know, Brazil's probably the largest mid-sized market after India in the world.
All right.
We're very, very focused on Brazil as a marketplace. Again, big marketplace, but when you look at our dealerships, we have beautiful dealerships in Brazil. We have a strong team. And honestly, this bike's sort of a transitional point in our Brazilian business. This bike's going to sort of take us into that next level in Brazil.
All right. And I come from like my first Royal Enfield was a Continental GT.
Awesome.
And I come from like I always wanted to have a cafe racer. I like the twins and all that kind of stuff. But this, it takes you to a new level of like being able to do like, for instance, I would never be able to do what we did today in a Continental GT, even an Interceptor. You might do an Interceptor if you change the tires, if you do like, but this is like come straight from the factory. You can do whatever we did today. So what was your favorite part of the ride today? Did you have like one part that you're like, oh man, this I'm going to take to life with me?
You know, that's a great question. I mean, I'm more of an on-road rider.
Yes.
But this bike makes me feel good off-road. It makes me feel like I can ride off-road, and I can't. I know that. I'm not a good off-road rider. But it's a phenomenal bike off-road. But I think just after we stopped for gas, those flowing roads that we rode down, like it blows my mind that for an off-road style bike, it can handle so well on the road. And, you know, it was beautiful, fast flowing roads, and the bike just was super comfortable. So I enjoyed that part. That was awesome.
I got to say we have that in common because I'm an on-road guy. I ride every day and like the road is where I'm at. But just to be outside, you know, in contact with the nature, and it's just, there's something about the off-road that is unique, you know, like, and that's like...
Yeah, and I think, you know, at first it can be a little bit intimidating, but I think once you get used to the bike a bit and you get used to the bike moving around underneath you, it's like the bike sort of makes us feel good. And that's what this bike's about. It's about just the pleasure of riding motorcycles.
And it's good to get your opinion as me, an on-road guy. What's the feeling of riding this bike, especially like if you could say a little bit of riding the older style Himalayan or the Scram, either one compared to this one, like what's the feeling of it?
Yeah, you know, when I joined Royal Enfield close to a year ago, and when I saw this bike being launched, for me that was a massive turning point for Royal Enfield in its international business with this bike. And when you ride the old Himalayan or the old 411, I expected this bike to be better. But when you ride it, it's so much better. The suspension's so much better. The comfort's so much better. The engine performs so much stronger. That sort of blows me away. But I think the key to it, though, it's still got that DNA of being a fun bike. You know, it's not overcomplicated. It doesn't mean that you have to get a mortgage to buy it because it's crazy expensive.
It doesn't intimidate you too,
No,
right?
it's not intimidating, but it's still got great performance that you can go out there and hang with anybody or your friends on different bikes. And if anything, honestly, I think this bike was better than I expected. I thought it was going to be better than the old bike, but it's so much better than the old bike. It's sort of, that sort of still surprises me.
Well, one last question. How did you enjoy Brazil so far?
I love Brazil. I've been fortunate that I've been visiting Brazil now for about 15 years. I love the Brazilian food. The Brazilian people are super friendly, and getting an opportunity to ride these amazing roads on a great bike is phenomenal. So I hope to be back, and hopefully we can do some more rides.
Yes, 100%. We're looking forward to it. All right, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. A gente está continuando aqui no bate-papo com todos os executivos aqui da Royal Enfield. Obrigado por trocar essa ideia aqui com a gente.
Imagina,
muito
prazer.
bom. E quando a gente está falando muito de público dessa moto, a gente fala porque a gente tem a pessoa que talvez esteja começando na Royal Enfield, seja porque gosta de um off-road, ou a pessoa que já está na Royal Enfield faz muito tempo. Quem que você acha que você vê o público para essa moto aqui?
Eu acho que talvez seja um pessoal que queria essa moto potente, que funciona muito bem no off-road e on-road, mas ainda não tinha uma opção acessível com tudo que a gente está entregando nesse produto. Então eu acho que vai ter gente que sim já estava na marca, gente que vem inclusive da Himalayan anterior, né, que essa a gente apresentou, né, uma revolução, mas eu acho que sim vai também atrair um público novo que talvez não tivesse nenhuma opção no mercado. A gente acredita muito nisso.
Sim.
Acho que a Royal tem muito essa proposta de trazer cada vez mais pessoas para o motociclismo e terem esse prazer, né, de pilotar. Então, sempre trazer gente nova,
Sim.
né?
Isso é um negócio que eu sempre falo, que tipo, uma das coisas que é mais difícil de vez em quando é trazer pessoas para o motociclismo que de vez em quando nem andavam de moto. E tipo, o que você acha que a gente pode fazer num geral para trazer mais pessoas para o motociclismo? No motociclismo em geral, porque quantas mais pessoas tiverem duas rodas, eu acho que isso é bom e E para ter uma moto como essa daqui, sensacional também, né?
Sim, e eu acho que nesse sentido que você está falando, a Royal tem essa questão muito grande de comunidades, né?
Isso é fundamental.
Então eu acho que ter o produto certo, que, não, que é acessível e trazer esse senso de comunidade, eu acho que vai ser natural que as pessoas,
Sim.
mesmo que ainda não experimentaram ou não pilotem, tenham essa vontade
Sim.
de pilotar.
Então é isso aí, muito obrigado por trocar essa ideia
Imagina,
rapidinho aqui com a gente. É bom
prazer
pegar a
enorme.
opinião de várias pessoas aqui da Royal Enfield. Obrigado. Continuando o papo aqui com os executivos da Royal Enfield, vou falar com o Nathan agora. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time and talking to us right here.
Absolutely, Foster. Thank you for having me.
How was the ride today?
My
First
gosh,
question.
it was amazing. It was amazing. You know, this motorcycle, you know, I've ridden it in 3 continents now, and every time is special. And the ride today was like none of the others beforehand, and none of the others were, you know, were like the other rides.
Yeah,
they're all
awesome.
unique, but the common thread is that this motorcycle got you there, which I think is super cool.
One thing, what is your favorite thing about the ride today? Did you have a favorite spot that you're like, oh man, I'm going to take this one to life. I'm going to remember this one forever.
I mean, the river crossing was super cool.
Oh,
I had a blast doing that. And I think it was just, you know, the many moments. I mean, there was tons of rocks, right? Lots of things spitting at you. And, you know, I'm, I would say a capable off-road rider, but I'm no expert, I'm no pro. But this bike, no matter where you go, it breathes new confidence into you. So, I mean, that river crossing, never done that before. Some of that, you know, incline, had never done that before. And it was, you know, you just have so much trust in this motorcycle that, you know, with the suspension, with the power and everything, that it's going to get you there, right? It's going to bring you along. So, but I loved it. I mean, the ride was incredible today.
Awesome. One question, we always talk about, like, you know, you have a new Himalayan and all that kind of stuff. And besides the people that already own one, the less model and everything, who do you think is going to be your target audience? Besides one that they already into Royal Enfield, they have it and everything.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, similar to what I was kind of just discussing, this is actually an awesome bike, both for those that are already into off-road riding and want something that will get them to new places. You know, if you're advanced already, and, you know, if you have the OG or some other bikes, right, that maybe on, you know, like the highways that we had today, couldn't get up to those speeds, maybe don't have the passing power. This has that power. This has that speed, you know, to get you to where you need to go in a good amount of time and be able to pass cars, trucks, traffic, to get you there. So it's good for an advanced rider, right? You can do some more technical things that maybe you couldn't do with other bikes in the original. But it's also a great starter bike. So if you're looking to get started with off-road, if you move to a new location and you need a capable bike that's going to be able to tear up broken roads and stuff, I think it's a game changer here.
Yes. And one question that we talked about this especially a lot in Brazil here. How does the international market of Royal Enfield sees Brazil?
Basically, the biggest opportunity that we have outside of India, it's our biggest market. It's got the most potential. You guys have great energy. We have an awesome dealer network that just keeps growing, super engaged. And, you know, we think that we're bringing motorcycles to Brazil that fit, you know, segments and areas that are unserved right now. And we're not just bringing, you know, any sort of product. We think we're bringing awesome product at really great prices. I mean, you tell me, right, 30,000 reais for this?
Yeah, it's extremely competitive. It's extremely competitive. And I'm curious to see how it's going to do, like, in the Brazilian market. I think has a huge success ahead of it.
Fills a need though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And it's not intimidating, which is like a lot of the, especially like I'm as you said, I'm a capable off-road rider. I'm not an expert.
Right.
So this one is not like one of the ones that you're like, oh man, you know, I don't want to ride it. It's too big. It's too tall. It's this and that.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. How many times have you been to Brazil so far?
This is number 4.
Number 4. How did you enjoy this time?
This was the best.
The best?
This
All
was
right.
the best.
So,
and maybe I say that every time. I'm not sure. We'll have
Yeah.
to check the video, but this for sure was
Yeah.
my favorite time.
Until the next one.
Until
the
the
next
next
one's
one.
going to be the
Until
best.
the next one. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you, sir.
everything. All right,
Yeah.
it was an awesome ride, awesome day and everything. And that's our last one. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Se gostou, já sabe, deixa comentário e todas aquelas coisas. E a gente se vê no próximo. Valeu.